Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Hamilton. I'm going to give you a few tips on in-text citations for your upcoming projects. And what I have here is my Gale and Context Opposing Viewpoints folder that many of you probably have at this point. And so I've got a list and I've got a couple of different topics that I've been exploring for various videos. So here they are. And I've already opened a couple of the files. So when you go to one of these articles, of course, all of your highlighted passages will be down at the bottom. That is very convenient because your source citation is also here at the bottom too. And so when you are typing parts of your paper or doing daily homework assignments that require citations, you can look to this and note whatever comes first in the citation is almost always going to be what you put in your in-text citation. So here, this was written by a guy named Alan Alt. His last name, Alt, is going to be the start of the citation in the Works Cited page. And one of the reasons we build in-text citations is not only to give credit and avoid plagiarizing, but also to allow future researchers to be able to find the same research that you've found. And so they would see the word alt beside any quotes using this highlighted passage, and they would be able to find in your Works Cited page the full citation, put this into a Google search, and they would be able to find the article. And so you've got to be really accurate about where you found each of your quotes as well as your indirect quotation. Like if you take a fact, put in your own words but don't have quotation marks around it, you still need to have an in-text citation. And so I've got this quote about trauma of the correctional staff on death row inmates. It's just a random topic I chose. And then on this one, this capital punishment, this is actually one of those overview articles that I pointed you to earlier in the Opposing Viewpoints database. These don't necessarily have authors. And so you're going to take the title, which is capital punishment. That's the first thing that's going to show up in your Works Cited page. And that's what you're going to use in your citations. So let's go ahead and look at one I have in progress. Here's a Microsoft Word document, and I've cited a couple of different ways. So here, I've got two from that capital punishment that I just showed you. It says the vast majority of executions in the United States are carried out via electrocution or lethal injection, as only 3 people have been executed by hanging since 1965, and only 4 people have faced a firing squad since 1960. And then you could see the citation here. There's a couple of things to note. The parenthetical citations are a part of the sentence, so you could see here that I've got the period on the outside of the parentheses. Since what is inside the parentheses this time is an actual article title, you need to treat it as though it's a title and put, in this case, quotation marks around it because it is an article. If for some reason there was a novel that was published without an author, which is hard to imagine, but if so, you would have italics for this title. You'll also notice that the quotation marks for the quote itself are before the in-text citation. So the in-text citation, the parenthetical citation, gets to be part of the sentence, but not part of the quote. Down here, we don't need to have a parenthetical citation because I've put it into the sentence itself. According to an interview called Capital Punishment, the vast majority of executions in the United States are carried out via electrocution or lethal injection as, quote, only 3 people have been executed by hanging since 1965 and only 4 people have faced a firing squad since 1960. Here you'll notice that the quotation mark is outside the period here and the quotation mark is outside of the comma here. So this comma is here because there's a dependent clause according to an overview called Capital Punishment. But the comma is going to go within the quotation mark even though it isn't a part of the title because that's how MLA wants their commas to be placed when they are right next to a quotation mark. Now let's go down to the one with an author. It says executions of death row prisoners are particularly traumatic to the correctional staff who interact every day with death row prisoners, often forming meaningful bonds. By Alt. Now you'll see here, same thing. We've got a period outside the parentheses. We've got a quotation mark for the end of the quote that does not include the parenthetical citation. Again, the parenthetical citation is in the sentence, but it is not in the quote. Down here, we don't need a parenthetical citation because we've got it in the text. According to Alt, executions of death row prisoners are particularly traumatic to the correct, and I have a typo, let's fix that, to the correctional staff who interact every day with death row prisoners, often forming meaningful bonds. And then I need a period here inside the quotation mark, just like I did with the comma earlier. So here you're going to see that we've got the author's name here. That will point them in the direction of your works cited page, which will start with that word. And so you're good to go and don't need a parenthetical citation. However, you'll notice how I've got both of these sentences starting with according to, the second and fourth sentence here. One of the challenges that happens is that students are afraid of parenthetical citations because they don't remember or won't learn where to put the quotation marks around those parentheses, and so they're kind of afraid of it, so they put it in the text. But putting in the text every time gets really tedious because they're words that don't necessarily need to be there. And so in these cases, you could see it's really easy for me to get in a rut according to, and if I just mixed it up a little bit and put some of these in parenthetical citations, particularly this one, where noting where it came from is just not relevant, except to point to the works cited page, so this phrase is particularly out of place. But it still works with authors as well, particularly if the author does not have a specific appeal to authority that you want to lay into your paper. Now let's go back, and there's a couple things I want to show you real quick. One is the OWL at Purdue that I've cited before as a reference. If you go OWL at Purdue MLA format, it's going to take you to some pages. This is the MLA in-text citations, the basics. So if you find a corner case that I didn't cover in this video, of which there are a few, you can go through and you can see from the headings, it has you covered on just about everything. Of course, you can always email me with questions as well. The other thing you can do, if you want to use a source that is not automatically cited for you by opposing viewpoints, let's say you found a website that was really good, or a New York Times article that you found outside of that database, you may want to cite it yourself. I suggest you use mybib.com. Now, I know in the past you may have used the Citation Maker machine, or you may have used EasyBib. I think mybib.com is by far the best. There's a couple of reasons. One, it is not inundated with ads everywhere, and it doesn't require you to pay anything. And you could sign up with your USD232 email. The second thing is it's just darn easy to use. As you can see, I actually put all of the citations that were new for the with and against the grain. I didn't label it at the time. The personal ethnography, and then we found a couple. I used this myself, and I had to cite dozens of sources for those projects, and so I can't recommend it highly enough. And I can make new projects at any time. Now, to create a citation, much like EasyBib, if it's online, you can give it a link, and it'll get you most of the way there. So I clicked on Create a Citation. I'm going to copy and paste this article about the NBA from Zach Lowe, my favorite sports writer. And I'm going to paste that there. It's going to do a search. Then it's going to tell me to proceed with caution because ESPN.com isn't normally used in academic papers, but it might be useful if you are doing a sports-related topic. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to say it doesn't have the web page author. For whatever reason, it couldn't pull it. So I'm going to say it does have an author, and I'm going to type it in manually. So I've got Zach, I've got Lowe, and you can also, if it's an organization, you click this, and you could switch it to an organization. So if it was written by the National Rifle Association, which would be pretty weird because I don't think that they have much to do with the NBA, but if they did, you could just type it in there. But let's go ahead and put it back to person, and we'll go ahead and put in Zach Lowe, if I can type. And you can say next, and it's going to give you all these boxes. And I'm going to say that I looked at it today and that it was published a couple of days ago. I'm not going to put a publisher because the website also encompasses the publisher. And I'm not going to put an annotation, but you could put in a couple of notes for yourself in order to remember what this source is about. It gives you a preview down here, and you can review it, and hopefully you know enough about these citations to see if anything's amiss. You save it, and it'll go into your project. And then you know that your citation is going to start with low, so that is where you get your in-text citations for this source. And it is not a terrible idea to put any sources that are not a part of the Posen viewpoints that you're not saving to your Google Drive into MyBib under your username so that you just have them all there and can choose the ones you actually end up using in your paper down the road. All right, that's it for our in-text citation video. I hope you found it to be informative. And if you have any questions, of course, always email me at prhamilton@usd232.org. Thank you.